Hi, everyone, and thank you for joining us for the Black Women in Media Conference. This is one of my favorite topics that we're going to be discussing today, which is, of course, digital marketing. So today we have three beautiful young ladies with us. We have Martika, we have Jackie, and then we also have Regan. So right now we're going to take the time, we're going to let each of them introduce themselves to you, and we're going to start first with Martika.
Hi, everyone. My name is Martika Jones. I'm the founder and CEO of BWIM, which is a digital business card platform as well as a BioLink platform. Our goal with BWIM is to help everyone connect seamlessly and effortlessly, but also wirelessly during this time. So we created devices that connect to your digital profile card so that all you have to do is just tap somebody's smartphone and boom, they have all your information.
Amazing. That sounds great. Jackie, you can go next.
Sure. Hey guys, my name is Jackie Clarke. I'm the founder of The Well Connected. So we're a creative agency support, former publicist here. So we really help with sponsorship, acquisition, procurement, measurement, and then pitch deck and digital communication design.
Awesome. Well, hello, everyone. My name is Regan Farley. I am a partner at Intel Media Group. We're a boutique PR firm based in Baltimore, Maryland, and also Brooklyn, New York. But we believe that we are at the intersection of impact, influence, and ingenuity.
Yeah, so you ladies, like you all have three very unique but very interesting backgrounds, especially Martika talking about your you being a tech startup CEO, in today's digital space. I tell people, I'm like, there are so many things out there, and it's kind of one of those things where you have to break through the noise. So for you as a entrepreneur, and also being the founder of a organization that helps other entrepreneurs, other small business owners, what would you say is the most rewarding thing that you get out of your day, and what made you want to start your business, Boo?
So I would say the most rewarding thing is helping others get seen. Reason that we created this was there was kind of like a gap in the industry when it comes to networking. We have the same deal, like business cards, paper business cards, and I am a forgetful person. So I'm constantly dropping my cards. I don't know where the hell they are. They're somewhere in my house, and I am never ready. I'm always caught off guard when I'm out and about or grocery shopping, and there is somebody that I need to network. And I just can't imagine like meeting that investor and not having that business card, and just looking unprofessional. So one of the things that we started a BioLink company at first, which we were a competitor of Linktree. And then we decided that we could rebrand and really do something with that. So we added NFC technology, and that really helped with with networking. And now that's actually increased our clientele to B2B. We're mainly B2C, but now we're able to give like a tailored, personalized experience to other businesses. And recently we partnered with Century 21 Beggins, which is here in Tampa, Florida. And they're actually one of the first to go virtual. So we were like, hey, let's come in, let's, get rid of the paper business cards and help you guys fully transition to virtual only. And, and that's been going really well for us. So I find it very rewarding that we get to save people time, money, and they never miss a connection again.
Yeah, I think that's very interesting. I'm one of those same people. I'm trying to remember, do I bring some business cards? I have them in my purse, and I switch purses, things like that. So I think it's a very innovative thing, because of course we've seen like the little things that go on the back of the phones and everything else. And it's like, okay, well, if I don't have that phone, then what happens? So I think that's very interesting. Right. So Regan, I was actually looking at your bio, and I saw on there that you live by the notion the dream is free, but the hustle is sold separately. I really love that. And of course, you have an extensive background working for some really large companies. What kind of made you take that pivot?
Yeah. So like as for pivot into entrepreneurship.
Entrepreneurship, yes.
Yeah. So for me, and I think that when we talk about like the hustle being sold separately, I think as Black women, we are multifaceted as women, period, but definitely as Black women, I can call myself a publicist, right? But I do so many more things than just publicity. So each person's hustle is different, and not one thing defines me. So that's what I mean by the dream is free, but the hustle sold separately. Jackie hustles different, Martika hustles different, and you hustle different. So for me, I think it's just not getting caught up in what something looks like, what someone else's perception of you looks like, as far as hustle sold separately is concerned. And what made me kind of jump into entrepreneurship, I think is something that's always been ingrained in my blood. I've seen my mother be an entrepreneur for as long as I can remember. But I think I was also forced into it. In 2019, I worked at a place. Unfortunately, I got laid off, but I think that was the best time for me because it made me hustle harder. But it also made me get sleep, right? Because I think we come from that notion of, oh, I got to hustle. And I got to hustle, sure, to build my business and build my brand, but I also got to practice self-care. So for me, I was forced into the notion of like what entrepreneurship is. And I think everything that I learned from the jobs that I was in, it made me build my business better. So yes, I had to hustle. I also had to practice self-care. But in order to be a boss first, I had to be a worker. So I think I had to understand all of those things throughout entrepreneurship, and especially serial entrepreneurship.
I think it's really a really great point that you bring up, because so many people as entrepreneurs, and as women, that we have multiple roles. A lot of us, we're doing 3 or 4 different things sometimes at once. We're used to multitasking. A lot of us just simply don't take that time to do self-care, and it shows in our business, because so many people say, oh, I hear people say, oh, when you're hustling, you don't need sleep. And I'm like, no, you can't function.
Right.
And it's one of those things of where we get so in tuned on, hey, we're trying to do our business, we're trying to do all these things, that we forget about ourselves. And so I think it's really interesting that you brought up, or really a great point that you brought up, that, hey, you need to take care of yourself. You have to do that self-care. It's a necessity. It's not something that's optional.
Yeah.
So Jackie, one of the things that and both of you said that you're former publicists, and I think it's kind of interesting to see how people have moved kind of from that publicist title into more communication strategy, things like that. Jackie, can you tell me a little bit more about what you do and kind of why you made that switch as well from being just a publicist in the film and beauty industry to saying, hey, no, I'm more than that. I'm going to do. I'm going to help these companies out with different things, sponsorships, their pitch decks, and all of that.
And I am still in publicity, but I guess I'm more of a calm strategist as well. So I am still in the space.
Yeah, that's a great question. So a little backstory, I actually studied fashion design. I wanted to be a bridal designer. I wanted to live my best Disney princess life, making wedding gowns, to be honest. And a lot of people who know me in my past life know the design side of me, so I have a degree in that for sure. But I kind of transitioned as, I just felt publicity didn't fit the mold and of who I was. As Regan mentioned, we're multifaceted people, and I am that. I'm very much a creative, very much of an entrepreneur, but the Virgo in me is very, very focused and detailed, and I choose to be a solution to problems. And I noticed in a lot of agencies I was working for, there was a lot of things people hated doing that I just love doing. Like, I'm a data freak. I will love to know numbers. I love to sit down and get that side of stuff. And PR people do that, but they're really focused on, well, in my experience from the agencies I worked, was really focused on, let's get this press, let's get this. And I found I was being more of an asset to my clients by showing you the value of a pitch deck or the value of understanding your numbers. And falling into sponsorship, being in film and beauty, being one of the only Black women in both of the agencies I worked with, I found I had a benefit to really, educate and work with sponsors in a different dynamic, not just, hey, we're just going to give it to Black women and this is going to be great. Well, what's the value of Black women, or what's the value of ethnic women? And so for me, the pivot came in 2019. I've had the Well Connected now for, I've had it forever, but as a sole business for the last, I would say 4.5 years. And in 2019, I found the most business I was getting was sponsorship. And then this pitch deck stuff. People hated doing, like I said, PowerPoint, which I love. They hated finding all the assets. And I found I just would rather zone out and create a really great deck, really get those numbers, and then pitch that to sponsors or pitch that to brand with valuation. So that pivot came because I was like, I don't really like doing media too much. The clients don't understand it. It's not that exciting for me, but I'm really good at this. And this is what gets me excited. And you're seeing that value. And I figure I know a lot of PR people. I know a lot of publicists. Instead of me trying to compete, which I don't believe in competition because we all, have our own lane and we all can support. But I'd rather be an agency support. And it goes with the name, The Well Connected. We connect people, places, products. And if I could be a support for, Martika or Regan or somebody else, but I understand PR, I think it just makes their life easier as well as mine. So that's how the pivot came about for me. So I say former publicist because I still understand PR, but I'm on the communication side of elevating your brand, I would say.
Yeah, I think it's very interesting that you say that, because so many people, they don't necessarily understand what PR is, especially in today's market where you see, I'm pretty sure you all seen the things on Instagram. People say, hey, you pay us $129. We're going to get you on. I saw the eye roll. You pay us $129 and we're going to get you on X, Y, and Z. And so many people, they don't see a value in PR, or they're like, oh, well, as soon as I start working with you, I should be on Forbes, things like that. And I think that, it's interesting that you say we're looking more on the strategy side of things to show you this is where we're going to get, because again, I have much respect for publicists, and it's kind of like, I know that there are people out there that make it hard in any industry. Yes. And I try to tell people that even with digital marketing, that PR goes hand in hand with it. As well. Yeah. So, Martika, I know for you, when you started on your path to entrepreneurship, what would you say was the biggest push to make you want to do so?
I would say the biggest push for me was pretty much just, I guess, hating my job, because I mean, that's really like everybody's, right? But I mean, it really was, I was working at a really nice wax center. And when I moved to Tampa, right before I decided to pursue a master's degree, and I enjoyed it. I was getting, promoted to management, and I was made all of these promises, right? I was like, oh, I'm going to have my own store. It's going to be great. And, I was pushing to be a franchisee, but that never came to pass. And I just felt like I was being strung along. And that was kind of like, that was my idea of what entrepreneurship would have been for me, is being a franchisee and learning the ins and outs of that wax center. It never came to fruition. And during that time, I was like scheming and conniving on how I could get out of here. I was like, what? I just want my own thing. Screw the franchise thing. I just want to do this myself. And I ended up going to get my Master of Science in Entrepreneurship at the University of Tampa. And what I loved about it was that it was not just all like this academic BS. It was really hands-on. And that's what we needed. It really pushed me to, take me from, the best way I guess you could say is kind of like Shark Tank. It takes you from ideation to implementation in 12 months. And it was very intense, but I was able to build a startup out of that. That startup failed, but I learned from that startup. And then just a few months ago, we launched Boot, and we're back at it. And now we have partnerships that we never would have had if we didn't make the pivot.
Yeah, I think it's amazing too that you speak about, hey, I messed up. I failed at something. So many of us, we think, hey, we have to do it right. We have to do it perfect. And they don't understand that this is a journey where you're going to fail. You're going to mess up, and that makes you a better person. I know, Regan, one of the things that you spoke about was that you didn't want to necessarily do things the way that you did. You want to do things better than how you did in the workplace. And so how would you say that has impacted you as a business owner when you think about those experiences that you had as a Black woman in a field that is, we all know that marketing and communications is a primarily white male dominated field, white female dominated field as well. How would you say that those experiences impacted you in your entrepreneurship journey as well?
Yeah, and I think some of those experiences also taught me how to be a better leader, right? Because at work, I had to know how to follow, but then in a communication CEO type role, I have to not only know when to follow, but also leading consistently. I think where that has made me a better, I'll say team member. I won't even say boss because I hate that term, right? Like I'm no one's boss. I'm the boss of myself. But like I will say that where that has made me a better team member when leading my team is that I'm sharing certain experiences with them that I've learned from the workplace. And even when it comes to engaging with clients, I'm ensuring that I understand the brand, I understand the product a little bit better, the ins and outs of those things before I even take on a client. And even when hiring someone else, like I want to know that you might not be the best quote unquote publicist in the beginning, but are you coachable? How can I pour into you? Are you learning? Are you researching? Are you writing? And once I see that, I think that's when I'm able to delegate a task a bit more. So I will say everything that I learned from work was how to be a CEO, how to engage, how to, like Jackie mentioned, find that proper data because most clients don't understand PR. But what you do understand is the visibility element of it, right? So I might not be able to say, you might not get as a potential client, or you might not understand that publicity is a result of what you all are already putting out, right? Like me as a publicist, I am only elevating what a client is doing. So I think like one, allowing clients to understand that, two, coaching my team, and three, being an effective leader is what all are the things that I've learned from work and taken with me.
Yeah, I think that's amazing, especially you building on the point of PR is just an extension of what you're already putting out there. So people, in the age of everything being online and of course, looking at the overall digital marketing, I think so many people forget that as business owners, as business leaders, what they put out there online does impact their overall brand. So how would you say, in either, I guess, Jackie, if you want to answer this one, how would you say that a brand that's looking to kind of cut through the noise, how would you say, what's the best approach for them to do so, especially when they're trying to, there are so many competitors out there, in any industry? What would you say are some best tips that you give to those people that aren't necessarily ready for PR, but they want to make sure that they have that they put a good word out there, that they're actually communicating properly with their clients or those potential consumers?
Well, I would say don't compare where you don't compete because everybody's journey is somewhere different, right? So it's nice to have benchmarks, but remember Chanel's up here, you're down here. There's levels to that. But what I would say is it really comes down to measurement. A lot of us think we know who our audience is and think we know what they want, but have no idea. And this is transcendent into sponsorship. We send pitch decks out, we're sending stuff out to brands because we think this is what it is, but you've never asked what is it that they want to consume or how can you help? So one of the biggest things to put yourself out there is one, go for it because it's never going to be perfect, and you don't know where you are until you know where you don't know where you've been until you know where you are, right? So you really have to test the waters, put yourself out there, ask your audience, why do they follow you? See what's working. What would you like to see more from? What would you like to hear from us? Really gather that feedback, put the effort in making out a survey. Like I'm launching a planner called the Daily Connect, and it's really about networking and connecting and planning your day. But I've put out a survey and I've asked people from all over, why do you use a planner? What do you not want to use? And that's helping me garner and gather the information that I need, and then testing your strategies. That's all what PR people do. We don't actually have a foolproof formula for every single person. What worked for this beauty brand is not going to work for your beauty brand. So we're going to try it and see, but we're going to look at what posts are really working, what responses we're getting, and then what's doing well, we're going to do more of. What's not doing well, we're going to pull back, and then we're going to re-strategize. So I would say, yes, there's a lot of competition out there, but one thing I will say for all the believers, if God put it in your spirit to do, there is a lane and a way for you. And if you're ever feeling discouraged, I encourage you to go to Walmart. I'm in Toronto, Canada, so we got Walmart out here, but go to Walmart. I know there's Walgreens in the US. Go wherever you need and look down those aisles. You're going to see 1,000,001 bread companies. But I promise you, every single bread company, there's one ingredient that differentiates them from the rest. So you have to find out what your one ingredient is. And that is your unique value proposition. What makes you, what makes your brand so different that you have to have that, and then exploit that value. A lot of us want to exploit the other things, really exploit the unique value of who you are, what your brand or your business is, and then find that niche. And you're not for everybody. So you really have to find out where your audience is, where they're living, where they're shopping, where they're talking. It might not be on Instagram for you. It might be on Twitter. It might be on LinkedIn. Yes, you love Instagram, but if your audience is on Facebook, you need to be on Facebook. Go where the energy flows.
Mm-hmm. And I'll add to that too. Like, know your why. I think sometimes, and I think potential clients sometimes expect your publicist to know that. But again, back to us only being able to articulate what you're putting out. Like, know the reason why you started your business. Think of your target audience as a person, because like Jackie said, not everyone is your target audience. And I think once you get clear on that, once you get that concise, even once you give your audience a name, right? Is her name Ashley? Is she between the ages of 24 to 36? Like, what does she wear? What does she look like? What programs is she a part of? I think once you can hone in on that and be really consistent on your why, and then start to engage with media outlets who may fit that description, right? So for Ebony versus Essence, and not in a competition way, but like, what is your target audience reading? What are they viewing? So on and so forth. And if you can boil that down, I think that's when you'll be successful before hiring a publicist. And these are all of the things that you can do on your own. Right now, you can start to engage with media, on social media. You can follow journalists. You can see what they're writing. Because at the end of the day, that's all we're doing. Like, we are, and not saying that anyone can do it, but I think because there is a practice and an art to that, I think what I am saying is these are the precursor things that you can do before you hire a strategist, if you will.
And I'll add one last point. You have to continue to do the work. A lot of people think just because I hired a publicist, my work is done. We work as hard as you work, but you also have to drive force your brand. So we can only offer suggestions and strategies and try, but you also have to implement what we're saying and also trust us. If we're saying we need you to go into the wedding business and pitch, and you're like, that's not my target. We have reasons for the way we do things. So sometimes trusting our process, but also doing that work helps. Because a lot of people think I just hired a publicist and that's it. It doesn't work that way. We need you to help us help you.
Yeah, I think that's something that a lot of people miss out on. Most definitely, that they think, and I've had, I tell people I do not do PR. More power to you all. But I have marketing clients who they think, oh, and I start asking them, what's your brand story? What's your why? Who are you trying to connect with? And a lot of them don't know. And for some of them, it's kind of a shock when I say to them, well, this is who you're really trying to connect with. And they're like, well, why? And I'm like, your price point, your messaging, certain things you're even posting. And so even taking that, a lot of times, especially again in the digital marketing space, it's trying to break through the confusion or trying to break through the noise of everyone looking the same. Everyone's feed looks the same. Everyone is kind of doing the same thing. And so, Martika, for you as an entrepreneur, what would you say is, best practices for people who are trying to break through the noise, who are trying to put their brand out there, to be different, to get noticed?
Yeah. So for me, I feel like a lot of, best practices, what I'm starting to learn, because I did have a publicist at one point, and it's good to hear from you guys, like what you expect of us, because I can be honest, I did not really know what was expected of me going in and getting a publicist. I just knew that I was doing things. It was like, hey, you're going to be here. And I'm just like, okay, right. But I think digital marketing is a huge part. One of the biggest things is like, content is king, right? And video content is out there. And something that I noticed, like for my brand, is it's really hard to explain what we do sometimes. And it's best that we show people, right? Or have contextual content. That's the key, is having that contextual content of people using the product or showing it in everyday life. I definitely agree about, understanding your target audience, their demographic, their psychographics. I'm a huge data person myself. So that's kind of where I lie, but sometimes but I'm also a content creator. And one of the things is I felt like building a community is the most important thing. People always want affiliation, a sense of belonging. And that's something that we're trying to bring to our company, which would be different from some of our competitors. Another thing is like what I mentioned before, is that tailored aspect of like B2B. That's something that my competitors don't focus on. And, rather than trying to be everything, to everyone, I feel like that leads to the path of being nothing to nobody. Right. And so we're kind of tailoring our products to specific industries, which has changed my target audience a little bit. And I'm actually dealing with a more like older demographic. So I find myself having to educate more. Educational content is a big deal for me because I'm not dealing with like Gen Z and a lot of millennials. One of my B2Bs is real estate. So I'm dealing with, older clients, and I find myself having to invest in, tutorials and have that coded in the back end of my platform, and also sending out emails. I'm getting better at email marketing by the day, but, having been scheduling and being on a schedule, right? Being consistent, but, email marketing, making sure you're following email marketing best practices. That's something I had to learn the hard way over the last few years, but I think I've got it down. And, making sure that there's educational content, like we have like Boot Toots Tuesdays or something like that, and making sure that happens, those tutorials, so that our users feel like they're getting value. And, and I'm not just trying to sell them a product at the end of the day or a service at the end of the day.
Okay. So what would you all, as far as entrepreneurs that are looking to expand their brand, but they say, oh, well, digital marketing is just being on Facebook and Instagram. What do you all have to say in response when you see those people that are like, well, I'm on Facebook, I'm on Instagram, I'm not getting the sales? And earlier you all spoke to, knowing where you're competing, because we see those people who are like, oh, I want to have a makeup brand. They immediately say, oh, I want to compare myself to Sephora, or I want to compare myself to these large brands, and they're coming out of the gate, and they may only have, say, a $10,000, marketing budget, where other big brands have $100 million marketing budget. So what do you say to those people who think that digital marketing is just Facebook and Instagram?
Yeah, I'll say understand what it is that you're getting, right? So like even when I put it in the sphere of like advertising versus publicity, right? Publicity is saying this is an earned media placement. PR advertising is saying try this product. PR is saying this is why it's important. And I think sometimes where there's a disconnect is people don't understand what they're getting. And you need all of those functions to operate from one whole. So sometimes you can't have one without the other, because one hand washes the other. So to not understand where you should be in the digital space means that you don't understand your audience, right? And I think you have to hire experts sometimes, because you as a CEO, like, yes, we may do a bunch of different things, but we don't understand every single thing. And I think experts hire experts. So I will say, sit down with someone who, may be in the need that you're lacking. So if it's a publicity need that you're lacking, sit down with the publicist, sit down with two of them, and have those conversations, have those tough conversations about your brand or your business, and talk to your peers. Talk to your peers who have may just hired a publicist or hired a digital marketing manager, because I'm also a firm believer of not one company does every single thing, right? So you might have to have multiple contractors come in, maybe one for digital marketing, one for advertising, one for publicity, so that way you can get more of a robust plan. So that's what I'll say. Definitely have those tough conversations, but educate yourself, right? I think even me as a publicist, when potential clients come to me, I also try to be really realistic, and I over explain, because what I never want someone to do is walk away and say, oh my God, I want to spend X amount of dollars with Regan, but I'm still unclear on what I'm getting. So I try to over explain and ask the right questions. Ask those tough questions. If you have a question or a comment or a concern with whatever contractor you're, ask those questions. So yeah, that's what I'll say.
I would say for people who are just saying, well, I'm on Facebook, you can be on these platforms, but what is your actual influence, right? And everyone is throwing the word influencer around, but there are people who have 200 followers, but their influence is so dynamic. What those 200 people show up and show out. So what is your real influence, right? And so just you got to be present. You're on there. There's a presence, but you got to be present, if that makes any sense, right? Mm-hmm. And so what it really comes down to, like I said, is understanding your audience. Okay, if I'm on Facebook, how are you engaging? How are you talking? Mm-hmm. What is your tone? Who's really engaging with you? Also weeding out people who are just not here for anything, right? Really purging your accounts, and then spending that time, that minimum 90 days to really develop, what Martika was talking about earlier, community. Community is everything when it comes to social. Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube, TikTok is all community. You have to have a tribe, right? So sometimes you may want to push this great project out right now, but your tribe isn't ready to receive what you're at, because a lot of us are over here with our thinking, but our tribe is way back here. Everybody needs to be on the same page. So really understanding what page you and your tribe are on, and then spending that time to really curate that relationship organically, not with just the sales. How y'all doing? Checking in, showing their love stories, dropping a few hints of what it is that you're doing, but really getting to a point that when you're ready to push something, that your audience is responsive as well as receptive. And it's also giving yourself that timeline to do that, because a lot of us are like, I'm dropping a new makeup line right now. You drop it today. You haven't given your audience any prefix of what's happening, what's going on, when's it's coming. So it drops today, but if I don't interact with you often, I'm not going to see it. Or you don't interact with me at all, but then you're asking me to fill out a survey, you're asking me to buy this. Why? You don't know my needs, you haven't communicated. So for those who say they're just on social media, ask yourself, do you have a presence, or are you present? That's what I would say.
And before someone buys from you, they buy into you. So you have to give them something to buy into. You can't just start to sell a product and then you not know your audience and what they want to buy from you.
Yeah, honestly, also with that, two things my design teacher taught me: the free you got to give the best stuff, but keep the greatest stuff for yourself. So your free has to be transformative. That's something I tell people all the time. You got to give a little to get a lot. So you got to drop those free ebooks. You got to drop those free courses, and those courses and ebooks need to be transformative. I need to walk away from this free seminar being like, whoa, this changed my life. This actually impacted my business. I saw sales, I saw influence, I saw whatever. Because then when I drop that $4,000 price point, you're not going to question me, right? And then people, like Regan was saying, people buy emotions. So you buy a certain deodorant because it makes you feel a certain way. You go to the certain restaurant because you love the atmosphere and food. Your brand, your service has to sell an emotion. People have to get an emotional reaction from it. If your brand or product doesn't do that, then you got to go back to the drawing board.
And I'll say this last part, tugging on people's heartstrings, like you were leaning towards, Jackie, like you have to tug on folks' heartstrings. That doesn't mean that you always have to have a sad story. But I think what that does mean is that no matter your story, it will resonate with someone. It's just about being consistent and continuing to put that message out there. But I think the last point to that is, don't feel like you have to be on every single platform. You have to be on the platforms that work for you and your audience. And I think people get tripped up to say, oh, TikTok just rolled out. Let me get on TikTok. Okay, Clubhouse just rolled out, which, Jackie, we were killing it on Clubhouse. Clubhouse just rolled out. And I think that those things are great. We talk about the power of voice on an app such as Clubhouse. And if you can captivate your audience quickly, you've already won them. But don't feel like you have to be on every single platform to just compete. Now, granted, in this day and age, I do believe that you have to be visible, because that is important. I don't think that any business by far, no matter how successful you are, should not have any social media platforms. I don't agree with that notion. I do agree, though, that you need to find what works for you. And sorry for rambling, but yeah, just wanted to add that in.
Martika, do you have anything to add to that?
Well, I definitely agree with both Jackie and Regan on everything that you've said. Yes, you definitely do need to be present. I know firsthand, as I guess you could say I'm still doing some influencing, but I consider myself former now that I'm doing the tech CEO thing. But since 2015, I was doing makeup and hair reviews and a bunch of that. And I built up a huge community. And when COVID hit, I was just in this huge lull, right? And I didn't post, I didn't feel inspired and stuff. And that shows my audience cut in half. And because they were there for all of that content. So, and that's something that I've thought about, trying to build back up. I still have people who are there, but if you don't post content, if you're inconsistent, the same thing will go for your brands, because being an influencer, that is a brand, you're branding yourself. And, same thing with the company. They want to see the person, they want to see that personality behind the brand. And if you're not putting that out and you're not consistent, you can lose it really quick, and they won't be very forgiving either.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. One of the things that so many of us Black women as entrepreneurs, when we're making that transition, what do you all have to say about those women who, like myself, were behind the scenes for so long that it was hard for us to come into the spotlight, even though it was our work being put out there, and of course someone else was probably getting credit for it? But what do you have to say about those women entrepreneurs who they want to be able to connect, but they don't necessarily know how?
Sometimes taking the first step is just by doing it. Sometimes it's just about putting that message out regardless, because I think that not knowing how right now, we live in a digital world. So sometimes it's just about, even if you don't feel like it and you want to get your story out, just going live and trying that every so often. Back to that TikTok, maybe it's just, putting together some information and talking on TikTok. You are the expert. And I think sometimes as, a CEO or a business owner, we get buckled down with, hey, I don't want to tell my story, but why not? Because you never know how that can heal someone else and how it will resonate with someone. So I think half the battle is just getting started. And I think as long as you can put out content that makes sense, content that is true to your branding. We bounce around this whole term authentic, but as long as you can do those things, I think that's when you'll find success in sharing your story.
I would say to that, we got to stop looking at everything being so pretty. And I think the problem with social media is everything is glorified as pretty. How many people have taken 1,000 photos? And you've heard this before, to get that one photo. One thing, like why TikTok has become so popular is because people are out there with no makeup on. They're just doing stuff, and it's, as Regan said, it's authentic. It's original. It's real. What people are resonating with is education. If it fits my story, they just want to hear. I think people are tired of themes. People are tired of an aesthetic to a point. If you just want to put out basic information, just put out the information, because you know what, a lot of the information you have is timeless. It doesn't always have to be something that's relevant right now. And just don't worry about making everything so pretty. If that means you don't like showing yourself and you want to go on Clubhouse, you want to record your voice over audio, get the information out of there, but just don't wait on it, because a lot of us, me included, wait all the time for this perfect moment. FYI, there's never going to be a perfect moment. And if you don't do it, someone else is going to do it for you. Because a lot of what we do is we talk about it with a lot of people. And guess what? Sometimes we're talking too damn much, and we're talking to the wrong person. And they have the resources. They have the what's the word I'm looking for? They have the confidence to do it before you do it. So sometimes, as Regan was saying, you just gotta trust yourself, put it out there, and then make it look pretty afterwards along the way. But just get started.
And done is better than perfect. Like back to Clubhouse. Clubhouse had no glitz, no glamour to it, right? But so many people engage with it because, again, back to voice. You were able to hear someone's voice. You were able to catch someone's tone. And granted, maybe people have gotten on it or gotten off of it since. But the beauty of it was the authenticity piece of it. You didn't have to post a ton of fancy photos. You could just fall in love and be captivated by some entrepreneur's knowledge base. So. Done is better than perfect. I 100%
agree. Yes, I agree, and it's horrible, because I can't tell you how many people, how many things I've witnessed, like being in the entrepreneur space and being in the tech scene here in Florida. Like, people want it to be 100% perfect, or they want to do everything right the first time, or they want it 100% secure. I can tell you right now that that's never going to happen, especially like with technology. There are so many people here. I mean, I had one of my ideas stolen. It was executed horribly. So I know eventually I can have that come back later, but I pivoted to something that I felt was better for me at this time. But during that my entire matriculation, there were people just, recording, taking notes, because I had a really great idea, but no capital at the time. And the deal is that, you just have to be okay with putting it out there. A lot of people, want to keep it secret, and they just, miss out on their own blessing, in my opinion, just, because they want it done correctly the first time. You just have to go in head first, because like Jackie said, it'll never be a good time. It'll never feel like it's a good time to start up. You just have to do it.
Done is better than perfect.
So one of the things that I always hear from women entrepreneurs is kind of, I'll see some who know that I want to make $1 million. I want to make 6 figures, but they aren't willing to invest in hiring, experts, like you all. How would you say, or what would you say to those who think that they don't need a team of experts to help them grow a brand? What would you have to say for those who are hesitant to invest in their brands? What would you have to say to them?
Well, there's no I in team.
Okay.
There's no I in team. You can't do that. But understand where you're at. Like, there's certain things that are a financial investment that, even me as somebody who's still, raising a certain amount, getting a certain amount of money, I'm like, there's certain things I want to do. Like, I don't know, I can't afford that $10,000 bill right now. It hurts, but sometimes investing in smaller programming, really looking at what your strengths and capabilities are, and then maybe scaling down a little bit. A lot of us go from 0 to 1,000 real fast, and you miss 1 to 9,999 or 999, right? You miss those crucial steps. So really slowing down and backing up and being like, okay, I know I need a team, but what is it that I'm trying to do now? How am I going to get from point A to literally point B? Don't worry about point C and D. Those things will come, and God will open the door for you to get to point C, D, E, F, G, but just focus on getting from point A to B. So if it's just, I need to get my website up, is it something that you could create a landing page right now that will do what it's supposed to do, and then build the budget to hire somebody to get you to point B? I think really scaling down and understanding where you're at, what your goals are first, and then really mapping out that direction, and then just really focusing on getting from point A to B.
Yeah. And I think a large part of that is trusting the process, right? So maybe I can't hire a publicist now, but maybe the publicist that I'm looking at offers a coaching program. And maybe he or she coaches me. I can learn, the ABCs of publicity before I can hire someone outright. Because again, back to earlier, done is better than perfect. So I think the more that you can educate yourself as an entrepreneur, but you can't also skip those steps either. So, okay, maybe you can't hire someone right now out fully. That doesn't mean that you can't hire someone ever. We think about all of these mega superstars and all of these influencers who work in certain spaces, and they haven't done anything alone. So I hate that whole notion of I'm self-made, because no one is truly self-made. I even think of our good girlfriend Beyonce, right? Beyonce has a solid team. She may be the face, she may be the perception, she may be that persona, but you better believe that she has a solid publicist on her team, or, her manager is making her do certain things, because again, in order to run like a well-oiled machine, there are different people who do different parts of that whole. So I think it's showing like there's no I in team. It's showing that, no one is truly self-made because someone helped you along the way, and being kind to that. So I think it's just a matter of research and learning, writing. And again, if you can't hire someone outright, maybe that person that you're following offers, maybe some free programming, maybe they offer coaching services or something like that, and just kind of engaging with them until you can afford that service or business, if you will.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that. So for me, I feel like it's all about information, gathering as much information as possible, understanding what your limitations are. I know like a lot of, us as like CEOs, we're the ones that are doing everything, right? And look, I'm doing pretty much everything, right? I have a small team of 3 and, it's me, my husband, and my best friend who helps me with development. And I can tell you right now, like, I wish that I had people that, could, take off like the email marketing and everything. But, I do what I can right now. And I just feel like for anybody who, when it comes to paying professionals, definitely you need a team, because I can tell you right now, I can have a list of people that I know that I would hire if I could hire, right? But, I also know what I can do right now until I can start making that type of money to be able to hire a team like that. It's also networking is very important too, because you never know who you can find who is, willing to help you. I can let you know, like my first publicist I ever had, just reached out to me because she liked what I was doing, and, she wanted to help me out. And of course that was going to be very limited, but it was something. And that taught me, a little bit about PR and like what I could do to, build my brand. And then when I'm ready, I know more of what to expect as well. So I just think gather as much information as you can, understand your limitations. So you're not just, saying I need all of this when maybe it's just a few things that are narrowed down. So, it might not even be as expensive as a lot of people think.
Yeah, I think that's great advice. And I think even rounding that question off, because of course we've seen the people who unfortunately are out there scamming and they leave people with a bad impression of certain people within the industry, regardless if it's from, come and give me $99 and I'm going to give you this vendor list and it has 2 names on it when you download it, or come and sign up for this class and it's going to be, whatever it costs. And then they leave and they're like, oh no, this is the same stuff you put on your Instagram. What advice would you give to those entrepreneurs or, to those business leaders, anyone who, on how to vet, the experts that they decide to go with? What would you say are some of the best practices on how they can truly vet out to know who to work with?
I think it's about researching, right? Like I think, but before I am to hire anyone, even if I'm hiring like new team members, right? I'm checking social media, I'm checking LinkedIn, I'm seeing if we have any mutual friends or mutual followers, and I'm asking questions because I think, and back to the PR space, PR is such a luxury service, right? So even when I tell potential clients, hey, you might follow me, you might engage with my brand, we might have had a consultation. But the one thing I never want you to do is put your eggs in one basket. So even if you like me as a professional, I still want you to go to talk to Jackie. I still want you to go to talk to Candace, Nicole, whoever, those folks are that, you also may follow in order to gauge the best opinion that works for you, in order to formulate the best opinion. So I will say research. I also say ask for reviews, ask for testimonials. One of the things I even try to do now as a communication strategist, publicist, whatever you call it, I try to even get video testimonials from my clients. So that way you're not just seeing something that I could have wrote and threw on a website. You are now hearing from my clients out of the horse's mouth. So I am always kind to that. So I will say, certainly do your research. Don't just spend because it's, hey, I heard I needed something called a publicist. I'm not sure what they do, but I want to work with something called a publicist because sometimes I get that as well. Folks might not know what PR is by far. They just know that their friend has it and they think that they need it. But also I never spend in anything that I'm not sure about either. So do your research on what publicity is. Do your research on what, digital marketing entails or email marketing. Because again, if you're spending a large amount of money, you want to be clear on what it is that you're spending it for.
I would say as well to that is I'd love to do interviews, informal interviews with anybody that I hire to want to get to know more about you. But also, like you said, when you're vetting, look at that person as a professional. I also have to gauge whether or not you're for me. There's some people that come to me, I need to be on media right now. And I'm like, whoa. You're at 10. We got to be back. We're only at 3. And I will reel you back in and tell you, I will not do this for you because I don't see the value or the traction right now. It's not going to give what it's supposed to give. And those are also key things for me. Some people that could reel you back. And I've had people, they know that, okay, this DIY package is at $800, but I'm like, you don't need that. You need something lesser than that. It might only cost you $250. And it's just like, be wary of people who are wanting you for your money, just getting the money grab, and people who really want value. As a communicator, I also don't guarantee anything. I don't, especially when it comes to press. The only thing I guarantee is that I can design a deck for you, and I'm going to do my best to design it the way that it needs to, or write your releases. I can guarantee what I can put my hands on. I can't guarantee that Martika is going to take what I said and post it on her blog. I might know Martika for 10 years. If it doesn't fit her brand messaging or she's not interested, because I know her doesn't mean she's going to do it for me. So I don't ever guarantee anything. And I've had people in the past tell me, oh, as a PR person, you should never do that. And now it's come to my benefit because I'm like, I don't work for Nike. I know people there. I don't work for Nike. I can guarantee I can email so-and-so at Nike, but if Nike picks it up, great. If they don't, well, it is what it is. But also try not to be jaded. There, as much as there's bad people, there is just as many good people, but I look at everything as a learning lesson. So you needed to go through these turmoil situations or these issues with these publicists, communicators, marketers, managers, whoever, because there was a lesson in there for you. And maybe, you need to take a step back and be like, okay, are you learning? Are you seeing? Are you applying? Because just because I'm a publicist, you should have to be asking questions. Hey, okay, so you're sending a release out? Why? What's the purpose of this? Educate yourself while you're paying that person. Get free education from them as well, right? They should not feel a way about educating you on their process. They don't have to give you their contacts and those things because those are coveted, but they can tell you the value of a fact sheet or a press release or one of those things. So really do your research, do those interviews. And to Regan's point, video testimonials are key. Like, it's hard to ask your celebrity clients, certain clients for them, but they're like, I had one client, she gave me a written review. I'm like, damn it, that's not what I wanted. I'll take it. Am I going to post it? No, because not that it doesn't do anything for me. It'll go for the website. But when you have certain people do video testimonials, yeah, you can pay for Cameo, but there's a difference when you have someone who does it for you. And if they hit them up and say, hey, I heard you work with Jackie Clarke at the Well Connected, they can give you a real one-on-one value. So these things are really important too. So definitely just do your research, and any communicator should not have a problem with working with another communicator. I love being put on a team where there's like, we already have 2 other publicists. Great, less work for me to do. That means I can delegate and work and really work in my zone of genius. So, it should never be a problem for a PR person to be like, you can't be working with other PR people, because Nike has thousands of PR people that work for them in different capacities, right? So.
And I want to drive Jackie's point home real quick, though, back to us not owning the media space, because if you don't own it, right? Like if it's not coming from, let's take Black women in media, for instance, I can't promise that you all will run a blog post, or I can't promise that I will get my client on Hot 97 tomorrow, although I may have gotten a client on there before. So I think getting caught up in the vanity metric of, hey, Intel Media Group got their client on Forbes, or Intel Media got their client in Black Enterprise, that's one client out of a whole. That could have been a great time to just pitch a story. That doesn't mean it's going to happen consistently. So I think just being really clear on what it is that you are expecting from PR. Like Jackie said, I can control how your brand is perceived. What I can't, or the message that we are putting out externally. However, what I can't control is, I know Nick Cannon just dropped a show on Fox. I can't say that I'll get you on there today, tomorrow, or next week, because publicity takes time. And again, there's so many factors of media. There's owned media, meaning what you own yourself. There's earned media, meaning what we've gotten because we've pitched. There's shared media. So even this conversation right now is a shared media conversation, so on and so forth. So I think it's just really being clear and knowing that, hey, if Jackie drops this free content, let me educate myself and see what she's doing. Let me get ingrained in her brand. Let me join her email list. And I think that those are the things that can help you before you hire a publicist, a communications professional, so on and so forth.
Yeah, I can definitely attest to, doing research and also the video testimony. I just did my first one after, doing like this business challenge and realizing that I've really been kicking myself for not putting all of my reviews or my brand affiliations on my website. And, and also learning about like customer, or potential customer touch points on my website. How far they actually go down. So now I'm revamping that. And I can tell you that the video testimony definitely has gotten me more clients, I would say, in probably the last 2 weeks than I had in like a month's time, just like at one go. So it's definitely good. And I do plan to encourage all of my clients to send videos, but, we'll see how that goes. Right. But yeah, definitely when it comes to that, just doing research. I always, people practically, my husband calls me a stalker, but like I have to literally like try to vet everybody. I stay on the computer looking at people, before I spend a dime. So yeah, definitely do your research.
Yeah, ladies, I think this has been a great conversation on not only just digital marketing, but, your entire digital footprint. For so many Black women that are entrepreneurs that are trying to get their brand out there, trying to break through the noise. I think that this conversation has been very meaningful, and you all have dropped some really great information. So just to kind of wrap up, let our viewers know where they can reach you, how they can follow you, where they can, get a peek into what you all do more in your professional life. So Martika, you can go first. Martika, I'm sorry.
You're good. So you can follow me on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, Martika Brianne. So that's MartikaBrianne. And my company, again, is Boop. So you can find on all social media, boop.bio. And that's bup.bio.
Yeah, for me, you guys can follow me at iswellconnected or wellconnectedto on Instagram, as well as my personal wellconnectedto is the business account. I'm in Toronto, Canada, so the wellconnected.ca. But again, Jackie Clarke, Clarke with an E. But you can find me on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, Facebook, and just drop in my DM, sending me an email. I'm happy to connect with anybody.
Yeah, and same. So my name is Regan Farley. I am based in Baltimore, Maryland. My company is Intel Media Group, so INTEL mediagroup.com. And we're also Intel Media Group on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. And then I am Ray, the publicist on all social media platforms. So RAETHEPUBLICIST on all social media platforms. And I think listening to the ladies, brand consistency is what's important. So when you are creating these pages, make sure that your brands are consistent and it's not 50 million different usernames.
Most definitely. So yeah, I've enjoyed talking with you ladies today. I'm looking forward to the rest of the conference, and I hope to see you rest of you there.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for having us.
All right, bye. Okay. Thank you, ladies. Yeah, I'll send you all a connection. This is a really great conversation. So they'll be following up with you all. And I'll send you all some connections so that we can all, hey, it's all about networking, getting to know everyone. This is such a great platform that they've created for Black women in our space, because before I never really, when I used to work for Omnicom and Havas Group. And when I worked for them, it wasn't people who look like me on the level that I worked. And so it's so great to see Black women out here doing the damn thing. So
yeah, for sure. Are we all in the email thread? Jackie, I have your information, which we need to touch bases again.
We do. We need to
definitely do. But are we all in the email thread? Because I'd like to just still send my information, like my social media and all of that other stuff.
Yeah, I'm not in there, but I'll connect you all.
Put my Instagram in the chat there. We could all.
So do not talk about me. I'm usually so busy doing other stuff. I just now made an Instagram post for the first time like in a month, because look, I get swamped, and I'm like, I don't have the mental capacity. And I tell people, I'm like, I'm always honest. Nope. I don't feel like it. Nope. I don't feel like doing Instagram. Nope. Don't feel like it. Nope.
No, I hear that. It's weird. I don't even do what I'm supposed to do on my Instagram. I tell my clients, this is what you need to do. My Instagram is selfies of me, maybe some animal pictures. It's just, when you're behind the brand, and you're doing things for other people, you don't have time to focus on yourself.
Yeah.
So it's really stressful. So I'm trying to get better at it. But, God's been good when you have so many moving parts. You just keep going, and then you're just like, So this month and the rest of the year, I'm spending revamping because my brand needs it,
And see, ladies' points, that's why I have someone runs my social media. So like I literally, I'm like, hey, I don't feel like showing up every single day. So like I give her those buckets of content of things that I need. Of course, naturally, I still have to be on camera and do video and all of those different things. But for the things that I can take out of my hands, because I am so busy with clients, girl, here you go. Take that. Like go ahead and do your thing. So I have someone who does at least manage my Instagram.
Yeah, I might need to have to hire that person because
I'll send it to you.
I can't.
I used to have an intern. But I always felt like I'm the type of person. I always felt like I had to come back behind and be like, I don't know, I would reword it like this or something. So I always felt like I was still like working. So hopefully I can find somebody that's like on the same page.
Oh yeah, I most definitely understand that. Well, yeah, ladies, it's been great chatting with you, and they'll be sending you out some follow-up emails.
Yes, thank you guys so much.
Thank you, ladies.
All right, thank you. Have a good one.
Martika, again, sending my condolences and safe travels. Okay, safe travels when you go.
Safe travels.
Yeah.
Love and light.
Yeah, thank you so much, ladies.
Yes,
thank you so much.
Bye.
Take care, guys.
Bye.
Bye.